So what kind of dreams do you find yourself having, and what could those dreams possibly mean? Well, in this video, what I want to do is simply take you along with me. I want to postulate a couple ideas, show you guys some of the perspectives that I have about it, towards understanding what dream state actually is, towards understanding what the interpretation of our dreams really are, and really just understanding more about these different levels of consciousness. Now, I'll explain that because the fundamental basis of what I'm explaining to you is understanding this idea of different levels of consciousness. Now, once again, I want to give a little bit of a disclaimer. I'm just sharing with you the experience and the beliefs that I have. I'm not necessarily telling you that this is fundamentally true for you. What I am saying is that this can be something that is more readily experienced, and it ultimately is something that I found, at least for myself, to kind of expand my awareness in general. Well, this video is going to be about that idea altogether. So first off, what I want to do is just lay a general basis. Now, this basis is understanding the idea that we are immortal spiritual beings having temporary human experiences. Now, I didn't always have this belief. It was really once I began meditating that I really began to feel into this understanding. It was really me also understanding that the only moment that exists is right now. Now, the reason this is important to understand, because when you understand that you have only experienced this moment now, that when you experience the idea of the past, it was this moment now from a different point of view of what we thought was the past, but when it was in the past, it was now, and any anticipated future moment is actually this moment right now, but from a different point of view, because by the time the future gets here, it will be right now. Now, the reason I am explaining this is because I believe that this gives us the ability towards understanding that if we exist now, we will always exist. It's that classic physics saying that energy cannot be destroyed nor created. The idea is that it exists now and it will always exist. Well, that is at the fundamental basis, the idea of what I'm speaking about today. Now, understanding this idea that if we exist now, we will always exist, what we can then understand is the physical expression that we're having, the physical experience that we're having is just one experience of that vastness of who we are. It's the conscious point of who we are. It's the expression that we experience through the five senses that we have, and through those five senses, we relate to one another. I think that a lot of times we forget this connection to who we are. We forget that we are much more vast than we could possibly imagine, and I think that one of the purposes of life is for us to come to this understanding that that is who we are. It's almost like you aren't born knowing this, or you grow up at least not knowing this, and then part of the purpose of life is to remember that this is who we are, that we can create and have any experience that we want, and based upon how much we are focused with that, we can experience it if we choose. Now, with that being said, every single night when we go to bed, what I believe we do is we shift ourselves to an expanded scope, which means that we simply go to bed and we shift out of our conscious mind, which is limited to time and space, which is limited to the five senses that we experience reality. And then what I believe that we do is we then expand ourselves to what some people fundamentally call our higher self. But some people call this our subconscious or our superconscious. I use the term higher self because it's just easier for me to say, really. And what I want to do is I'm going to use that terminology through the rest of this video, but you can interpret that whatever way you want. So the idea is that every single night when we go to bed, we expand ourselves out from the conscious physical self that we are having our experience with when we're awake. And what we do is we then shift ourselves into our higher self, which has a broad view of who we are, which has more flexibility with time and space. I talked about this on the video of life after death. I talked about the idea of when we go to bed every night, we can connect to people that have passed on because we exist beyond the idea of time and space when we go to bed at night. We reconnect to that higher self version of who we are. Now, in the same way, every single night when we go to bed, I believe we expand ourselves back out to this perspective, and that when we wake up in the morning, most of the time, we don't remember everything that we did. Now, one of those reasons, I believe, is because when we're in that state, there is no reference experience for us to remember it, meaning the idea that our conscious mind, what we can remember is only things that we can actually relate to. So because we are actually much more vast than we can possibly imagine, the idea is that we can't necessarily absorb all that information and bring it back because there's no way to really experience it. It would be like if you were trying to explain to somebody what sight is, but that person was blind and could not see, and was born blind and could never see. It's very hard to explain. In the same way, when we expand ourselves out from the 5 limited senses that we experience our reality, the idea is that we might not be able to bring all that information back. So a lot of times, the way that we interpret that is through understanding symbology, dream interpretations. And because of that, that is what we can actually bring with us. And a lot of times, I think it can actually be things that will serve us towards understanding certain lessons. Now, ultimately, now that we're at this point of the video, what I want to say is that I believe it could be different for every single person. That if you're watching this video, you're obviously at least open to the idea of dream interpretations or understanding more about your dreams. And whatever meaning you think that your higher self could give you towards understanding, that will be the effect that you get. Now, what this means is the idea that when we bring information from our higher self existence into our physical body, the idea is that we can only retain information that we find that relates to us, or that we have some type of reference experience for experiencing or learning or absorbing. And the idea is that the way that we actually experience that is through a lot of times the idea of symbology, the idea of having some dream interpretation to understand a certain idea or to understand certain type of intuition or guidance in a way. And this will be in proportion to our perception. Ultimately, if there is a certain type of information that our higher self wants to give us, it has to do it in alignment with the belief systems that we have and also in the reference experiences that we have. So, for example, if in your dream you had maybe like a snake biting your hand, and your higher self knows that you're into dream interpretations, that you'll get online and look up what that'll be, it might do that for you so that you look that up and see that, hey, it means that you've been resisting this or whatever dream interpretation it might be. Now, in the same way, if maybe you're not into dream interpretations, but maybe you have a reference experience of when you were a kid or watching a movie and a snake bit somebody's hand and it meant that that person was feeling a certain emotion or something, maybe that has a certain meaning to you, and maybe then that'll be the meaning for you. But ultimately, your higher self knows how to get to the basis of who you are towards helping you understand whatever you have questions about. So it'll be in direct proportion to what you actually believe. So the key to this is understanding and becoming aware of what you actually believe to be true and understanding the potentials, the possibilities of what you think you could actually learn in your dream state. Now, a little bit of a tip that I want to give you guys is every single night when you go to bed, one thing that you can do is set the intention that you remember your dreams every single morning when you wake up. Now, the reason I say this is because I, for the longest time, did not dream. And of course I dream, like everyone dreams, but I did not remember my dreams in the morning. And I would have told you that I didn't have dreams at night. Now, what I did is I realized that I had a belief that I didn't dream. And what I did is I shifted that and began to, first off, open up the possibility. And then I began to actually intend that every single night when I go to bed, I'm going to wake up and remember my dreams. And ever since then, it's been years. Every single night when I go to bed, I set that intention. And because of that, when I wake up every morning, I remember my dreams. And a lot of times that could be deeper symbols. It could be very literal, like right in front of my face. But nonetheless, every morning when I wake up and I remember my dreams. Now, another little tip that I want to give you guys is understanding that you can first off set the intention, but you can also set an intention for something you want to understand more of. So, for example, if you want to know which direction to go in your life, what you could say is, can you give me a sign in my dreams of me, knowing what direction, that career I want to go into, or something like that. The idea is that you can set that intention. And maybe you have dreams of certain type of symbols that'll lead you or prod you in that direction. So you have to first off set the intention, believe it's possible, and then direct it in the direction of what you want to learn about. And the more that you do that, the more that you're consciously giving yourself the ability towards understanding that you have the ability to guide yourself from your higher self to your conscious self. So understanding, at the kind of wrap up this video, that you are an immortal spiritual being. You are having a temporary human experience. You're experiencing that through the 5 limited senses. That when you were born here, you forgot who you were at a greater level, and that's part of the purpose of life. I believe that that's what really makes life special, and the idea of awakening special, because awakening is about awakening to the power of who you are, understanding that you're much more vast, and then from that perspective, then understanding how you can learn how to take guidance from what we call our higher self, from what we call the larger aspect of who we are, that if we exist now, we will always exist, that we can kind of relax in that knowing, that we can experience the fullness of our life and ultimately begin to absorb the most amount of information through the level of awareness. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Remember that you can influence the way and the experiences that you have in your dream state by first off just knowing that it's possible, by intending that you remember your dreams in the morning. And hope you guys enjoyed this video. Feel free to like this video if you liked it, share it if you found it of value, and other than that, sweet dreams and much love to all of you. All right, bye.